Hey everybody, my name is Ben Kirsten. This is my first YouTube video, so take it easy on me, would you? I am a sound designer, composer. I do a lot of Foley, a lot of just straight up sound design, a lot of ADR, a lot of VO, surround mixing, and I like to do as much composing as possible. I thought I would show you this little tool I built. Basically, this is just straight up for adding tracks. This isn't for getting around VEPro, or getting around my template, although I might touch on that later. This is about the fact that I got really tired of making all these tracks. And I wanted a template that had, because sometimes I like individual tracks per articulation, and sometimes I like expression maps. So building all these tracks got really annoying. So I decided to spend an evening and make a tool to basically do it for me. And this is kind of a bulk way of adding tracks. It gets me 80% of the way there. I'm doing it with this program, Keyboard Maestro. If you know the Cubase macro system, this is like that, just to the umpteenth level. This gives you variables and multiple clipboards and calculations and user prompts and various ways to pause and all that kind of stuff. So here you go. This is the Super Template Builder. This was the last thing I created. I'm going to create some woodwinds from Arc 1. I'm going to do these bassoons A4, okay? And I'm just going to call it Arc 1, okay? Bassoons A4, okay? And I'm going to give it my identifier. Everyone in Cubase has their own way of doing these identifiers for making calls to tracks to view them or to enable them or whatever you want to do. Sorry about my erratic mouse here. It's a habit. Anyways, we're ready. I hit enter. This brings up the PLE and basically just resaves this because this is going to be used later when I'm actually making the tracks. So for now, it just makes a new rack instrument. It sticks Vienna Ensemble Pro on it. It connects to Vienna Ensemble Pro. And now it's waiting for me to create a new instance. So after I click connect, it makes a new instance of Contact for me. And now I can come over to here, and I'm just going to select all these and drag them over. And now we get to watch the exciting progress bar. I'm sure everyone is very familiar with this progress bar. I am at home, so this is not a rip-in system. I'm on a 2009 Mac Pro, no SSDs. And basically, I needed to build a template that worked at home on my crappy computer and at work on my much better computer. So basically everything ends up deactivated and purged. So there you go. And sometimes I will get rid of these if I need to and load them back up, but the tracks in Cubase and the routing stays. Anyways, so here's my little directions because I always forget what to do. So I've loaded the patches, I minimized the GUIs. I don't need to create any more. Basically, if it had more than 16 articulations, I'd have to create another instance of Contact, but I don't. So I click OK. So it names it for me. It sticks the MIDI channel to all. It creates the automation parameter for enabling and disabling this instance of Contact. And now I just have to name it. I was not able to build this part of it into the macro. So Arc 1 bassoons, this is woodwinds. I'm gonna stick this here. Set color, looks good to me. And I'm gonna click OK, so now it hops back over to Cubase. It's gonna rename that rack instrument down there for me. And then it's going to rename the track. The track it just renamed is the track I use for enabling and disabling. It routes it to the proper reverb. That amount of reverb will be tweaked based on whatever it is I'm doing, but it's there and it's named and it's just ready to go. It makes things so easy. So everything is named And now in a second, it's going to bring up a prompt for actually naming my tracks. So this first one is just sustains. So there we go. That's all I have to type in is sustains. And now I can just type in staccato. And right, it adds in the arc 1 bassoons and it adds in my identifier. I don't have to do that every time. It was driving me bonkers after I had made, 100 or 200 tracks. I'm not sure if other people just suck it up and just deal with it. But it was driving me crazy. And it was actually kind of fun to put this macro together because I like to work that part of my brain sometimes. So we've got a few more patches to go. We'll say crescendo short. We've got 3 more. What are we going to talk about for 3 more patches? Crescendo, flutter tongue. Maybe I should make sure that this works, right? I haven't done this. Yeah, flutter tongue, we're good. Okay, swell short. Sorry, you can't hear my Cubase system. This screencast is done quick and dirty. Anyways, so now we're going to do swell long. And now I make one more track that will end up with an expression map on it for those times that I want to use an expression map. And I just want to stick this to any. And now I am finished. So now it's going to move on to the next stage, which is the very helpful reminder because I always forget this part. And I couldn't really build this into the macro because these instances sometimes work differently and sometimes have more than one instance of contact. Anyways, there we go. So now it's going to kind of do this final step. It creates the folder, it names the folder and removes the characters so that it doesn't get in the way of my searching. It saves my Cubase project. It saves the Vienna Ensemble Pro, the whole main meta server. And now I just drag this up into my woodwinds, bassoons. I'm debating whether I keep the libraries together or if I stick bassoons with bassoons. So we'll see. For right now, I think what I might do is go by library in this case. So, and then I stick here and now I'm ready to go. I'm ready to move on to the next one. So, 1 or 2 more things I wanted to show you was basically, I am not a fan of iPads. I like physical buttons and physical faders for everything. So this got in the way with the idea of needing to find things, right? If you need a button for fine Spitfire chamber strings and a button for fine Spitfire chamber strings violins 1 and so on and so forth, you end up with a million buttons. And unless you have an iPad, it gets real messy. If you try to put stickers across 100 buttons and things change and it gets squirrely. So I had to find a better way. So now I've got it down to 1 button does it all. Okay, so I just do this 1 button. Okay, and I say S. If I could spell, I say SCS. So this basically just goes in and tweaks the PLE for me. Okay, so it's really a simple concept. So now here's SCS. Forget about these tracks because this is under construction. But there you go. Okay. And now once again, I don't need another button if I want to say SCS Violins 1. Okay. And so what this means is that the template is procedural. So when I add a new library or a new instrument, I don't have to create any new PLE commands or create any new buttons. I just have the 1 button. And I don't think I mentioned this yet, but all these macros will eventually just get mapped to a physical button on a control surface. So I'll either fire them off that way or through these little on-screen menus. Oh, and this whole system of this was an eye-opener because this means I don't need 20 buttons for selecting velocity 1 through 10 and 10 through 20. I just have one button, and it brings up this prompt, and I give it some values, and then it goes and enters those values into the PLE for me. So this helps me to get away from this idea of needing an iPad. I'm not a fan. I like swiping on the iPad, maybe reading emails. I hate typing. I can't imagine making all those buttons on an iPad, or dealing with glass faders. They're just not for me. Anyways, one more, I can just type staccato, and it's just going to go in, and it's just going to find anything with staccato on it. To me, this is a great way to work. Maybe I'll make another video that shows you sort of other ways of looking at tracks. One of the big downfalls I've found when you want to find certain things is that you lose your selection. So maybe I'll make a video on how I'm able to do all this, and the track that I want selected always stays selected. Anyways, that's it for now. Hopefully somebody got something out of this. I know it was pretty high on the nerd level. Anyways, see you next time.